Welcome to the Casey Ingram Show Meet Your Candidate series. No spin, no agenda, no endorsements, just the candidate. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the many listeners who submitted questions for this interview. Several of those questions have been incorporated into today's discussion. Questions are not shared with the candidates prior to the interview. If you enjoy the show and would like to stay informed on local issues and elections, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm Casey Ingram. Let's get into it. Anna Farias is running for Village of Indiantown Council, Seat 4. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to be here today.
It is truly my privilege and appreciate you taking time. I know it's a busy time out on the campaign trail, so got you in the air conditioning here for a little bit. So, Anna, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Yes. So a little bit about myself is I am from Puerto Rico. So I'm Puerto Rican. I am bilingual fluently. And I moved to Indiantown in 2002. Moved away to better myself in higher education. Went to Indian River State College and graduated in 2013. And my professional background, I work for I'm self-employed. I have my own brokerage. I am a real estate broker as well as a mortgage broker, and I do property management in Indiantown.
Very busy. Now, Anna, what motivated you to run for the village council, and what do you believe is the biggest issue facing Indiantown over the next 4 years?
So definitely the biggest issue that I found myself pushed to actually run is the water quality. Infrastructure is definitely important. And coming from Puerto Rico, I know firsthand that it's not just hurricanes that we have to worry about to make sure that we have adequate electricity, but also the distribution of this water, especially in the real estate industry. When you are performing a sale, one of the questions that I'm often asked is, are we providing city water? And the answer is yes, but are we truly receiving city water? Or is it a big well that is not being filtered? I know that it's in the plans, is in the works, and there has to be some improvements, but to sell something at a premium, something so valuable as the water, it's important to me that those issues get addressed and get addressed fast before an outbreak happens and then all of us are without water. The other thing that pushed me forward was the comp plan and the changes that were made to the comp plan. Mobility plan was also something that was pushed at the beginning. And then as the transitions on different seats have despaired, obviously, so does the dream or the agenda in place to make this a better village. I mean, we became independent for a reason, and we didn't want any more neglection, but we also didn't want to be put in the back burner for major things. So that's a little bit about why I'm running. I am very active with the youth. I am a swim instructor. And with that being said, when I moved to away and came back, obviously I became certified and I was providing to the community a open space for them to physically do some exercise. But with the limited of space, that had to go away because we don't have a place where we can, host these I don't want to say large events, but if you have in a room 40 to 50 people trying to exercise, you kind of need a flex room to be able to do that. I was able to run this program for not just for adults, but for kids as well. And I just want to see more services and opportunities that should come. And we've been told that there are in the works, but time really doesn't stop for anyone.
It sure doesn't. And that kind of leads me into my next question, Anna. When your 4-year term is over, what do you hope Indiantown looks like? And if you can kind of paint a picture for the voters.
Definitely, I want to make sure that the things that were overlooked at, especially when grant writers were applying for these funds, that they are allocated to what they were meant to be allocated for. I participated in a recent meeting where there was a confusion and we weren't sure if it was a donation coming from FPL or was it a requirement to satisfy a PUD. So that information needs to be available, not just for the council people, but also for the community as they are voting for these things. If we are not aware, or if the voters are not aware of what direction we're heading to, we could be put in a predicament. And if we worry so much about being sued, that's even a bigger picture. So I don't want what we have moving forward for improvements to stop, because we are already in a deficit nationwide when it comes to homes. So I'm not saying let's flutter everything unresponsibly. We have to think of the people that were here and the people that are coming here.
So I'm going to extrapolate on that question a little bit more. With Indiantown growing so rapidly, what do you want the village to become in the next 10 or 20 years?
I definitely want to avoid the crowdedness of the mobility that we have seen in nearby cities. We are connecting. So Village of Indiantown has a demographic position in our county that connects to tri-counties. So we definitely need a place for people to congregate and for small businesses to grow and provide, not just for those people that are coming to visit, but for those that are physically here. So yes, alternative options in regards to grocery stores, in regards to health care facilities for the fixed income population that we have. We definitely need those services here. In the next, sooner than later, 10 years, we might have a place where we could potentially get our laboratory facility or more physicians, specialized physicians as well. I know firsthand, because my parents also live in Indiantown, is that it's like, Anna, you brought us to this town and I have to drive an hour to go to my specialist. We have to have that opportunity for these specialists to physically come and service our community. That, it's hard for a fixed income person to go that far for well services needed. So yeah, and a hospital wouldn't be a bad idea.
Right.
Especially since we're growing. Not just to service when an accident happens or have a place for a helicopter to land on, but if we physically can take care of those emergencies here locally, that would not only open opportunities for those that are in that field, but also for our needs.
Right.
We definitely need those services.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to have an emergency room nearby because it is an emergency. Now, Anna, what types of businesses and development would you actively encourage to come to Indiantown, and what types of development do you believe simply are not a good fit?
Okay. So when I mention infrastructure, if it has been well said many times that any business that comes to our town needs to be able to sustain themselves for what it is that they're in need. Like, for example, if I wanted to push a water park, since our kids love so much swimming, and instead of reducing the size of a local community pool for them to learn how to swim, what about a water park? Well, we can't have a water park because right now we have the water issue. Like, we can't even distribute to the current residents right now clean water. And when I mean clean, I'm not just talking about drinking water, but, just bathing in water that has discoloration, brings you a lot of possibly health concerns. And we don't have those tests. So to invite any business to do business here is going to take a lot because we don't have the infrastructure to sustain something that the large community can take advantage of, you know?
Now, how do you create good paying jobs so more of your residents can just stay and work in Indiantown instead of having to commute elsewhere?
So I noticed that in the work industry, there's a lot of people that are working from home, that are moving in because they have that opportunity. That's how they're moving in because when we're talking about affordability, we are affordable compared to no other nearby municipalities. We were promised that as we were growing, we were going to have hiring opportunities for our local roofers, our local electricians, our local plumbing. And I don't feel that that has well played out as I physically see it. I see the vans that drive in my neighborhood. I happen to live in Terralago. So I moved here physically in December and, being very transparent, I don't work for any developer. I'm an independent broker for a reason.
Okay. So you're saying that the contractors you're seeing come in through Terralago are not locals?
Not all of them, correct.
So here comes the big topic of the day for you folks in Indiantown. Data centers have become one of the most controversial issues facing Indiantown. Where do you stand today on that?
So I happened to fly in yesterday from Tennessee because during a public meeting, a council meeting, the mayor mentioned that he visited a data center and somewhere in Tennessee. I approached him because I wanted to firsthand see the information since he mentioned so much that we can't rely on Facebook and that we can't rely on everything that we read. I don't just read. I don't just listen. I sometimes go where the source is and ask the questions. Well, unfortunately, I was told that I wasn't going to get clearance to physically be able to visit this data center that he visited. But I drove around and I saw that there was several areas that are being annexed and nearby sports complex. Well, we don't have a sports complex in Indiantown. And in regards to data centers and the vibration that any construction creates, we have to be able to think about our surroundings. And we have to be able to advocate for those that can't, that don't have a voice, that have been here way long before we have. Alligators, wetlands reduces their size sometimes, then sometimes they expand. Some areas are protected for a reason. And I believe that between Indiantown and Jupiter Farms, for example, there's a lot of land that will never be touched for a reason. So I think that our boundaries need to be a little bit looked at. And since we are having so much funding from our government, I'm sure that we are going to be looked at very closely, not just to protect the property rights of landowners, but also the property rights of, the people that were here to begin with many, many years ago.
Now, Anna, you just mentioned annexing. So as we know, the village just annexed in 5,700 acres for FPL. Did you agree with that annexation?
I did not. And the reason for that, obviously, we haven't been given the opportunity at times in some of these meetings to really express how we feel about certain decisions. And we are more focused on let's not get sued. We can't afford to get sued. But we also can't afford to undo bad decisions at times. So therefore, I don't think that there was enough time, adequately time to review any of the information that was presented before them to be able to make the decision. And it's not just I'm a fast reader and I might not have the bilingual issue of translating certain things because, these are a lot legal terms that, the average person can't pick up from the first pass reading. There was not enough time for anyone to go through any type of document to actually see if all the documents were fully executed and presented, anything missing on all these documents, the production of all these documents. If the document was 400 pages, was it printed? Was it handed out? Was it emailed? When was it emailed? All this trace, it happens within 2 weeks. I mean, government works a certain speed,
Right.
but yet we are expected that if we are asked permission, if we don't quickly answer, then there's a problem. It's like I have 2 children. And if both of my children come to me to ask permission to go somewhere or do something or utilize something, they're not going to put me a time frame on when I'm going to give them an answer. I mean, I personally made my son create a PowerPoint presentation the first time he ever asked for a cell phone. So if I did that exercise as a parent, I can imagine what I would do if I'm a council person and I don't have something or I don't understand something. I'm going to ask because just the question that I have, I know for sure many other people have. I'm not afraid of asking. I'm not afraid of telling you I don't know because at the end of the day, persuasion is a thing. And you could put it in front of me and you could paint the best picture that I'm for it. I'm definitely sold. But if I don't listen to the perception of someone else that is directly going to be impacted, I don't have their vision. And I'm there for that. I'm supposed to be there to listen to those around me, those people that lived around me, because I live here. I don't just do business here.
So Anna, you brought up a transparency issue with it, and I appreciate that very much. Knowing what you know now, though, would you support that annexation?
No.
Now, do you support a temporary moratorium on new data center approvals while the village reviews its long-term land use plans and regulations? Why or why not?
So when you say a moratorium, like meaning more time?
Moratorium would put a stop on the proposals for data centers until the village is able to review its long-term land use plans and regulations. So a moratorium just is going to put a stop for the data center proposals.
Yes, I believe that it would be a good idea, especially since all the counties around us are doing exactly that. So you're telling me that it's just like the example. If my child is asking me for permission, is he going to sue me for not answering on time or just telling him, go away, rethink of what you're asking me, because I feel that there's a lot of facts that are missing on this that we don't know.
When you went up to Tennessee, I know you weren't allowed into the facility, which is unfortunate. You probably could have gotten a little more, information and understanding, but that's their rules, of course. What was your takeaway that you are bringing back to Indiantown?
The takeaway that I reflected on, to be honest, is not that I'm being persuaded, but a lot of people have mentioned that we just need the revenue. And people are screaming that they want better water and better this and better that, and everything costs money. But in all honesty, I don't believe that privatizing certain companies and making certain companies larger than what they can handle, it's a good idea. I gear myself away from monopoly because as a Puerto Rican, you can see that we had suffered from only having one servicer that provides water, one servicer that provides electricity. I know that I'm not in the island anymore, but I moved away because I didn't have the adequate services. I don't want to find myself in a place where I'm also lacking those services that I dearly treasure.
Now, tell us what you did see. Was it a hyperscale data center? Was it a newer one? Was it one that's been there for a long time? Did you hear noises? Kind of share with people
what I was able to hear physically was that the actual sports complex had like big fans to keep it cool in there because it can't get hot. That was the noise, and I actually did a live post of where I was and what was in the background. The the annexation signed was up. I want to say less than a mile from it. I also saw that it was near the veteran building, very beautiful bricked building. There's a lot of highways in the area for sure. 100%. So this data center probably, if it is for a data center, we don't know. I mean, I wish I could just stay for the public meeting to kind of like see, okay, what are the steps and protocols that this municipality is taking? So I want to say the data center is not necessarily just our county issue, tri-county issue, Florida issue. I think it's going to be a nationwide issue
It is.
that
It is.
that so to think outside the box. I don't think that it's Anna said yes or Anna said no. I think we need to have that biased professionals come and speak to us before these things are being presented. I mean, staff has a lot of work in their hands, but a lot of times they focus on things that need attention, but there's priorities that need more attention to.
Well, it's the regulations as well. They have to approve things as long as they're abiding by the regulations, which, that's one of the issues that you're all dealing with right now in Indiantown. Is there was the SB 484, I believe, where the governor said, okay, municipalities, that's the one thing you can put a moratorium on. So you can write your regulations. Your village attorney has advised against that. So, I think that's one of the things when something comes in, they're going to go by your regulations, if there's nothing there about it, then it should be approved. So I guess moving forward, are there any specific conditions that would have to be met so that you would vote in favor of a data center?
Absolutely. Once we have the proper guardrails. I did, I was part of a meeting. Well, let me rephrase that. I wasn't part of the meeting. I was just a spectator. I was able to listen and tune in to have someone having extensive talks about why the guardrails are needed and why it's not such a great idea to rush into certain decisions. I have never seen so much participation on agenda items in our village when the word PUD, data centers, are in the agenda. The agenda, it's put out, it's approved, and there's certain things that are not encouraged to speak because it's not part of the agenda. Which it puzzles me a bit because, I know that there's always a setting for anything to speak about it. That's why public speaking is open. But I feel that there is at times where the public is discouraged from going on the podium. We don't have time for this. Let's table it or let's move on, or we're not talking about that right now. I don't think that's right. It's like, I think that we are there to listen and take notes and do something about what we are saying. At least reason with people or where's your human interaction?
It sounds like you have a lot of questions about transparency currently. Let me step back one more time on one more data center and then we'll move on to other topics.
Yeah.
If a future data center proposal was overwhelmingly opposed by residents, how much weight would that public opposition carry in your decision?
Largely, I have that obligation to understand other people's perspective. I can't go on my own. I mean, I serve in a homeowners association in Indiantown, and one of the concerns before even Terra Lago was a thing or proposed, it was neighborhood safety. Lighting is definitely part of the infrastructure that we are lacking in our community. And they mentioned, like, why are we even meeting if nobody does anything? We tell you, here's the problem, and there's no outcome. And at times it has to do with, I'm not making the decisions. I could present your concerns and I can come back and meet with you with the outcome. And I think that as a business person, we have to find new ways of communication, new ways of thinking outside the box, relying on other experts, reasoning with people. It's mainly what I feel that we don't have.
So with that transparency issue, you have brought that up. It's definitely a theme with this interview. Can you give residents an example of where you thought the council should have been more transparent and work?
Well, I mean, we have 5 members, and out of the 5 members, sometimes we go to these meetings and all we hear from is maybe 3 to 4. And then there's the one that doesn't excuse themselves from things that they shouldn't be voting in. And it's always a yes. We're very unlikely to say no.
So as Indiantown grows, what infrastructure should be addressed first? Of course, water is the primary issue, but how about the roads, sewer, public safety, parks, or something else?
Well, definitely. I know that the fatalities in 710 have been drastically increased. I want to say about 4 years ago, DOT came to our public library and required the public's input on what they were about to do and why they were doing it. I think that those activities and exercises are well needed, and I'm all for it, not only to get the community engagement, but also, it's like almost their signature. Hey, I was part of this movement. I saved lives by making these roads safer. And I'm not talking about adding lanes so that there is no traffic and we could continue driving 70 to 80 miles an hour. I mean, we're going to get there eventually. And if the roads are safe with adequate lighting and rails to prevent our wildlife getting on and crossing over and causing these road wrecks, it's definitely something that I would definitely desperately ask for it to speed up. Like you got the money, it's funded. When do I see these orange
The cone.
rails? Yeah, exactly. And then
Cones.
yeah, and then the third one, it has to do with when I say the third issue, not just public safety in the roads, pedestrians. It's definitely, I mean, in our town, although we don't have that many shops, we have a lot of pedestrians. We have a lot of kids that need to go to school on a bike. We don't have bike lanes. That's important. And when it rains, our drainage, we definitely have a problem. I mean, our kids' bus stop when I was dropping off my daughter for her to go to the nearby high school, which is about exactly 19 minutes away in a bus. We couldn't get to it. Puddles everywhere. You can't walk there. So, yeah, we definitely need a lot of infrastructure. I mean, it all boils down to we don't have enough water and then we have too much of it.
I hear you on that. Say the same thing about discharges out of Lake Okeechobee.
Exactly.
So, Anna, should new growth pay for itself through developer impact fees, or should existing taxpayers share more of that cost?
No, definitely impact fees need to be picked up by who is impacting in. I mean, with this thing, as a real estate broker and mortgage broker, it's interesting how everybody's talking about the home exemption taxation reduction that just passed. Indiantown has a lot of investment properties. So I think that, if you're investing, that means it's a small business somehow. And, everybody needs to pay whatever impacts and whatever maintenance needs to happen. Assessment wise, it's definitely a thing. I lived in Port St. Lucie, and when they were connecting to the sewer lines, it was just an assessment. And, since the village of Indiantown purchased the water treatment plant, that's their source of revenue. So explore that,
Okay. Now, this one should be near and dear to your heart, or probably you're going to be one of the more qualified people to answer this. Affordable housing. She goes, oh, what is it? Affordable housing is a challenge across Florida. how do you balance the need for housing without losing the small town character that makes Indiantown unique?
So we have enough room to spread. I think that we don't have to cramp everybody in, and not everybody needs to live in an HOA community. I think that if starter lots are available and people that qualify without the HOA fees, and if the impact fees are distributed the way that you need to, I believe that there will be more housing opportunities for those to obtain a conventional loan, for example, to build their own home on a construction loan versus, getting a house that is cookie cutter, already built, and here you go. This is the price tag because it is what it is. When you have the opportunity to hire your own builder and invite those that have the proper licensed general contractor, for example, I believe if scatter lots are available, we will have that opportunity.
So, Indiantown is one of the most culturally diverse communities in Martin County. How will you ensure every resident feels heard, including Spanish speaking families and those who may not normally participate in government meetings?
So I feel that in order for someone to participate in government meetings, they have to have the proper, like for example, time. Time is a matter of essence, right? So when you have hardworking middle class families work outside of the village of Indiantown because the opportunities are not physically local. Just to give you an example, the local roofer that is building homes or putting roofs tops in Jensen Beach, if they clock out at 4:30, 5 o'clock, or even 3 o'clock from that side of town, I know that there's not a lot of traffic lights, but in order to get from one side of the county to the other, it could well take you more than an hour. And if you're holding these meetings at 5 o'clock or even 6 o'clock, they barely can get there. And they have 2 or 3 kids at home that they have to feed. They're not going to have time to come to a public meeting that sometimes we find a lot of argument because they can't see eye to eye on certain items because they apparently can't speak to each other prior to. They can only do it publicly. I mean, emails, I think, work very well as well throughout the day, and responding to quick posts on what you're working on. It's public, you can read it wherever you want.
Do you think it's helpful? During COVID, a lot of the municipalities were able to take public comments through the Zoom meetings or live stream. Do you think maybe we should be doing more of that, even though COVID's over now?
I think so too, because even though we might say, well, if they want to speak to anyone, they have to be physically here. Sometimes they want to say certain things that if they have to walk to their car to go home, they don't feel like, threatened. Well, you know what? The meeting's over and now I didn't like the comment you made, or, avoiding those confrontations. If you are in Zoom, it would be a lot easier for me to tell you how I truly feel because I'm in a atmosphere that is more controlled by me. If I'm done with my comment, or I'm physically cooking, but I want to participate and know what's going on and be able to raise my hand before you take a vote. That would definitely increase the participation of the whole community, 100%.
And then this just piggybacks on this topic, and it's an issue for every municipality out there. How do you reach the residents who are not on Facebook, who do not attend the meetings, and just feel disconnected from local government?
Well, I'm having that right now. I'm doing a lot of door knocking, and a lot of people are afraid of opening the door. Not so much because they don't know who I am, but being misinformed. Just don't listen. The help that you're getting now will go away if certain seats are changed. A lot of these things, like to give you an example, the food drive is definitely managed by the staff, not so much the council person. The sports program that is the only one available for recreational soccer. If it's not ran by a certain group or entity, that might go away completely. That's not true. That's misinformed things, because we have to give credit to the actual people that are actually bringing those services here, and those services don't need to go away. There are a lot of charitable organizations that are more than happy to come to Indiantown and physically bring their presence to those that are in need.
So, Anna, we're wrapping up this interview, but there is one other topic that came up recently. I just want you to weigh in, and that's subject to grants. I'm not sure how the grant was applied for, if the council knew it was being applied for or not, but that's the grant, the $8 million grant. Mayor Diapolo announced yesterday that it was received for Seminole Inn restoration at the meet and greet that you folks had at the chamber in Indiantown.
Yeah.
So with that grant, it seemed like the council may have not known that it was applied for. I'm not sure on that. I couldn't really tell just watching the public meetings like everybody else. But, the Seminole Inn was purchased by Garcia Companies, which owns, the developer for Terra-Lago. It is a private company. Now, I think that Miss Krista had said that they are going to be donating the restaurant to the village. I'm not real sure how all that's working out, but I just kind of want to get just your thoughts on that whole process, because it just kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was an $8 million grant, for a private business to restore property that they purchased. What is that appropriate? How would have you handled that situation sitting on the council?
I don't think it was put in as a vote. I think that grant writers can do what they need to do and ask what the actual community needs. Does the community need a restaurant? Yes, 100%. Does the community need areas for visitors to come and stay and visit? Yes, they do. So to be clear on the 8 million, or if it's 4 million, or if it's 1 million, I'm sure that the criteria to qualify for certain funds are in place and guardrailed to be used for what it's intended. Is it going to generate any economical gain to the village? It all depends on what was written and how are we going to get it back? Is it going to be taxpayers' money and we're just helping private companies their wealth for their shareholders? Or how is that laid out? It wasn't ever presented, like who saw those documents? Was it shared only to the councils, or was it only a few of them that got their hands on it? I mean, Apollo says a lot of things on how the village would is getting the funding that it's getting because it's a village. But define who are the members of that village. Is it all of us, or is it a certain group?
Follow up to that question. Should the government be in business of owning hotels, restaurants, businesses?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Imagine we're sitting here in 2036. We're a decade down the road. Looking back, what decisions made over the next 4 years will determine whether Indiantown became a model Florida community or missed its opportunity? What legacy do you hope to help create?
I can't see a business plan at this moment past the 10-year mark, because if we don't do what's right for our community, we're not going to be able to expand. If we don't take care of what is in front of us right now and the issues that we have right now, that's going to dictate our future of growth and of anything else.
So taking advantage of opportunities now, what specific, opportunities should you be looking at taking advantage now? I will say, hats off to the village for getting all the grants they have for the water plant. That's huge. It's still not enough. But my gosh, it's incredible amount, and it's really helping.
Yes. I think that the advantage that I was hoping for from when this all started was the agriplex. The agriplex nobody is speaking of anymore. And that is a business opportunity that I believe will serve a lot of local ranchers. And I do know that our demographic was, agricultural, and now we're going towards light industrial, but light industrial very unaware of how that's going to create any jobs, especially depending on what you put on there. We were We were employing a lot of people, and now those people have to commute because what we had is no longer here.
The Agriplex, are you referring to when the Martin County Fair was going to build one, or something else? The fair. Okay. Yeah, they're only taking 30 acres out there now instead of that whole area. So I'm pretty sure that's not going to be as envisioned.
Right. And that's what I mean by when I said the mobility plan was something that was participated by a council member that is no longer a council member. The village water plant was acquisition by none of the council members that are sitting on the board right now. So the credit in how these grants were written and how we were asked and how we're getting what we're getting, I feel there's a lot of hands on the cookie jar. And at the end of the day, there might be a few cookies missing.
You know, it as you said, the current council is not responsible at all on this. But do you think purchasing that water plant was a smart move on behalf of the village?
I think that alternative opportunities should have come out of that.
What's the biggest opportunity facing Indiantown in one word? I know it's a tough one. Biggest opportunity facing Indiantown in one word.
In one word,
I'll give you 2 words to help.
the biggest opportunity is definitely that we were, as a county itself, we didn't have a lot of construction permits for a very long time. And I know that you asked just one word, and I have to say calling Indiantown home. If you have that in mind at all times, you're less likely to treat your home like it doesn't matter.
These next 2 questions are related but different. The first question is, why should someone who hasn't made up their mind vote for you?
Well, I am, and I think that just being able to express bilingually, like to the actual residents that can or cannot vote for me, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we just need someone to do the job and to ask the questions. And whether I have said this in my first ever meeting met in Indiantown, and one of the things that I said is I'm a well-rounded player that could play in the court or outside in the sidelines, because I could be your biggest cheerleader that you will ever need when things get tough and you need that friend that at least empathizes with you, because I live here, I do business here, and I have gone away, but not far enough not to care for Indiantown.
Then this is the second part of that question. Why should someone who has never voted in a village election, traditionally it's been a low turnout in Indiantown, make sure they vote this year?
I think that a lot of voters have moved away and are coming back because of the opportunity, the housing opportunity that there is now, and families have grown where, one kid went and came back with a full family, and demographically speaking, I believe a lot of residents have now become citizens and can vote, something that they couldn't vote in 4 years ago. So I think it is going to change for sure. It's going to be interesting.
Is there anything voters haven't asked you that you think they should know before they cast their ballot?
You know what? A lot of people have approached me and they have posted on Facebook mainly that I have answered some of their concerns. So putting the information out before it's asked, I think has been key. I think that hasn't put myself in that position very often. It's just there has not been a lot of questions. What I have gotten a lot is we need a change and we need someone. And we need someone that can speak and have our backs. That's how it's been worded. I know you have my back. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
I mean, I would like for you to elaborate, but you could all you could do is listen, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Anna Farias, I appreciate spending this. I think we're about an hour here with you. That's no, that's quite all right. So, finally, how can voters support your campaign and learn more about you?
You could go into annaforindiantown.com. That is my website. And I am a local resident. I will be doing a kind of like walk for the cause today, Friday, at the entrance of Terralago. And we're going to go walk for 4 miles to the bridge and back. A nice walk in the afternoon. I mean, I know it's hot all day, but we're doing it around 6:37.
Okay. All right. So finally, Anna, this is the end of the interview. It's truly been a pleasure. I wish you a lot of luck out there. And for folks, August 18th, that's the primary date, but it's also our general election date for Indiantown. So super important to get out there and vote in Indiantown. And if I recall right, I believe the supervisor of elections told me that you're in a 3-person race. So somebody has to get it 50% of the vote or there'll be a runoff in November. So folks, definitely get out there and vote on August 18th. It's so important. That's our big election day here in Martin County. You do not need to change your party affiliation to vote either. So
Correct.
that's the
Nonpartisan. That's the key.
it's nonpartisan. The county is partisan, but you don't have to change your party affiliation this year. This is like one of the first times in forever. So super important, but don't forget to follow the Casey Ingram Show on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube for more real talk you won't hear anywhere else. I'm Casey Ingram. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you again, Anna Farias.
Thank you. Bye.